Hey, how long were
Hey,
you there?
how long was I here? I was here maybe a few minutes listening to you, listening to Einfach gemacht, feins gemacht, feins, all that stuff.
RT today.
What's
So what's
happening?
going on?
Well, I'm in this is a place called Brixton. I don't know if I can do this. Can I do this? How do I? Yeah, there we go. So this is Brixton. This is called the Ritz. This whole area, Brixton, is very famous in London. It was one of the few places in the UK that had its own currency, the Brixton brick, and it's a very it's predominantly black area, I'd say, or it has been not diverse. It's been a sort of white black. It's a very interesting ecosystem. Lots of black-owned businesses and promotion there, and a lot of Jamaican gangs at night hang out there. I know that because I met them. And you got a lot of the end of the world is nigh. Have faith in Jesus. You're all dying. A lot of that stuff. And I'm here. Yeah, essentially, I'm here till Tuesday, and then I'm off to Brussels.
Brussels.
Brussels. I don't know. A lot of people don't really know the layout of Europe and Brussels and all of that, but Brussels is the political capital of the EU. It's where NATO is. It's where the EU, European Commission, all of that. A lot of it's a very interesting place in terms of the architecture and the culture and the food and drink. Very interesting people. And there's a project there called Uni One, which is all about we're all unique, we're all one. And they have it's led by a whole group there in Brussels, and they want me to give my full time to this project. And we're meeting a hang on, how do we do this again? Let's turn it back.
Full time like a job?
Yeah, hang on a sec. Why is it not turning around? Turn around. There we are. On Monday in London, we're meeting a friend of the founder who wants to hear about the plan, the structure, the business plan, and he can write a letter to his, high net worth network to get some funding to pay people. So that's that thing, and it's basically Moses. That's his name, Moses or Moshe. Was a rabbi, and he grew up in Milan, and then he was sent by the Jewish, the hierarchy of the leadership, sent to Brussels to set up some foundations and things like that. But then he, over the years, just decided to leave Judaism. But he's been highly trained in the Kabbalah and other esoteric things, and he now basically wants to bring a specific kind of process, a 3-hour process, to anybody. And it's a great idea to, whereas Airbnb you rent out your room or whatever, he wants to find a way to rent out your living room or your space, bring people together. And he's got this process, and he's been doing it in Brussels for about 10 years in the gift economy. But now he wants to turn it into business. So I met him 2 years ago, and that's okay. I clean my plate. I'm going to go for it. And Brianne and I will be going to Brussels on Tuesday for a month, and I'll be working intensely on that and seeing where that leads. Yeah.
And what does that have to do with what I saw on Facebook about the parallel places to the Stockholm?
Yeah, so basically, I and Britain had been involved. Well, we still are. I mean, it's an interesting conversation around everything works in your head. Everything works perfectly in your head. Your imagination. Yeah, I'll just do that, put that together, and then that'll happen. It never does. That's never happened. So the wonderful Dr. David Boville, who extraordinary mind, extraordinary experience, knowledge of blockchain, of technology, of anarchism, of political history, of you name it. I mean, such a broad and deep intellect. I was with him for the last 3 hours. My brain is, I'm like, whoa, having to breathe. And basically, there's a group of people that are forming around doing dialogues globally that lead to action. How do we actually have conversations, the dialogues that lead to something happening? and David's got this model of say you've got a group in Vancouver that are discussing something, and then there's a group in Africa and a group in Asia or whatever, and then you're able to podcast stream what you're doing, and then there's somebody in Stockholm on physically at the conference who's able to bring these conversations together, take out sound bites, add some art, and say this dialogue is happening live. And then after that, to create DAOs or projects that can be funded very, very easily and quickly, and then get it moving. It can be done. We've got the technology to do it. So it'd be a decentralized global thing. And he wants to be able to set up the processes and the protocols that decentralized events become a thing that we become good at as a species. Because right now we're shit at it. We just don't do it. And he'd love to say, for example, for the World Cup, which is going to be in November, I think, in Qatar, soccer, great. The whole world is watching. How can we use that energy to then have these dialogues about, right, we've got some stuff to do, folks. How do we organize, and he's got this whole thing about the Romans and the Celts, and we can't be the Celts and get fucked by the Romans again. We have to organize better than them. And that isn't easy. We have to work with people. And I love his thing about, if you're comfortable and it's easy, you're doing something wrong. Because what we're in now is a period of, we have to be uncomfortable. If we're going to use a different kind of money or different economy, it's going to feel really weird initially. It can't be the same. So by definition, if you're doing something and you're enjoying it, it's quite easy. It's not the right thing. So he's really challenged me to find what do you really believe is possible, and what do you want? What do you really want to be doing? So we were a small group forming, and then Brett and I actually moved in with him. We actually moved into his flat in London. It was so intense and so like, whoa, like living inside someone's knickers within the first 24 hours. And he just said, right, and it was explosive. And so we've just had 4 days in the country to relax from that. And now we're back in London, and then we're going to go to Brussels.
How long were you together with him? How long?
Monday night, Tuesday, 5 nights, 5-6 nights.
And immersive.
Oh, wow. It was to be a design sprint with lots of drawings, coffee. We had lots of coffee, really seeing what, and for me, I mean, he's got 3 academic degrees, one of which is a first class honors in philosophy. He's got a degree in medicine, one in immunology and biochemistry, and he's really, I mean, his thinking and his understanding of what we can do is so extraordinary that it just to connect, interface with his mind, and he's almost 60, so that's decades of growing up in squats and living in anarchist communes, working in Belarus, working with hackers all over the world, being part of these big conversations, leading conversations with the guys who started Ethereum. I mean, it's intellect that, and the way he writes his papers. So it was so good for me personally to learn and to really meet someone he's deadly serious. I think that's a shift for me, is to meet someone who he's done community work in the area of London where it's a really rough area, and he's been working with the people from the mosque, the street gangs, the graffiti people, the kids, the elders, that you name it, and he's got stuck in. So I mean, I applaud his I think maintaining that motivation till he's 60 is amazing. Happy to put you in touch with him and have a good old meeting of minds. It's really, yeah.
So you're going.
So one of the things I think which links to what you're doing with the videos and the embedded stuff is he's got this thing about a visual novel, right? So he's saying that we've got podcasts, we've got books, you've got text, you've got artwork, but I want to see a kind of a visual novel that's a guide to taking action, that I can go into this application, watch some videos, there's a narrative, a linear narrative, and I can basically listening, say, to me, you and him talking on a podcast, and then you pause it and then you can click on, if you want to discuss this now, boom, or if you want to learn more, here's some links to this, and there's hyperlinks in the sound. And you've just only got really 6 or 7 little slides. It's a small guide, but it's about getting you not just to sit back and listen to it, but say, okay, how do you want to participate in this? You want to have conversations about this? You want to do something in your local community? If you want to learn how to do that, that's how you do it. Here's how to make a video or edit something. Here's that kind of thing. So like a guide to ending slavery, a guide to community action in your area, a guide to finding the right teams, and having a mixture of videos, podcasts, text that you can then interact with and participate in. And then you have the digital currency that goes with that, so that people are rewarded for participating, and then they can start to work with that. He's also got this, he calls it the Space Network, which is simple protocol for action, cooperation, exchange. And it's set up in, and this is he'd say, right, well, Elijah, let's set up one in Vancouver, and let's connect you to Barcelona, Seville, Belarus, there's other places, and then start to do artist exchanges, residency exchanges. And all you need is the space and then some pods to sleep in around it. And then we can start to get people back and forth and doing projects together and fund them as DAOs. And for him, the key thing is you must have a legal structure. If you don't have a legal structure, you're just going to be washed away. So you have to be able to set up some kind of legal structure, ideally with an app that goes click, 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 and you've got a DAO, a legal thing, and a bank account. And then you can say, right, oh, we'll send you 50 Bitcoin or 2,000 Ethereum or $1,000, and off you start. And then it's archived, and then all the IP goes into you've got the IP, but you put it into the commons, etc., etc. He's got the whole thing mapped out.
He does.
And he's just been trying to get a group together that he says, excuse me.
Bless you.
The pollen in London, my God. It's like, you don't have to like each other. In fact, it's better you don't like each other. If it's a group of friends, forget it. You gotta, it's, he pointed me to, it's a fantastic essay called The Tyranny of Structurelessness. I don't know if you've heard of it. I can send you a link. It's written by a feminist author, academic, around this marriage between emergence and structure, and how movements collapse when certain things happen around structure and power and elitism. It's just, it's absolutely right. And he's like, we need, it's a small group. It's been five people with diverse skills, ideally male, female mix or gender mix or energy mix with different skills, but you go at it and you got to deal with the fact that your differences, your personality differences.
What about the timing of the goals and the coming together? Like, does he have multiple cycles involved?
Well, he's saying, it's usually time. So, I mean, ideally you're doing, like, you release things once a week and then you have some kind of event, but you're pulsing these things. And there's so much I'm trying to process in my head to organize my thoughts about it. but his main thing is like governance, which he calls the science of coming together to take action. We have to learn how to come together to take action, and we're shit at it. Even though we've got all the technical tools to do it, we don't seem to do it. And he's been fascinated by creating a new form of governance that is interesting, that has the trickster role involved. I think that is something you can really, link into. He says that a lot of, especially activist groups, they end up becoming too serious and then they implode, or they're not serious enough, and it's just like people don't care. It's just, this is just, forget it. So that balance, that trickster jester, that is really important. And then he says, the whole thing around the platform, the tech platform, the lawyers, the whatever, you've got the people who are doing the stuff, the companies, the cooperatives, the members of this ecosystem, and then you've got the guardians, the keepers, who basically have the rights of veto. So they don't make decisions, they just say, oh, not that. That's kind of the elders' role or guardians' role, or those who are putting the money in, or the investors. So he's got all that model sorted out. He's got these things. It's finding people to, I think, keep up with them, I guess.
Could you arrange a meeting between me and him?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll do that. I'll do that. Today's Earth Day, of course. I'll set you up. He's on LinkedIn. He doesn't have much information there.
What's his name?
David Bovill, David, and then Bovill. You can search for him. He's also very interested in what he calls dark science. So
Bovill, Bovill?
Yeah, Bravo, Oscar, Victor, India, Lima. And this thing around a lot of the stuff we have to face and deal with is very dark. And if you become too hippie about it and all the rest of it, it's very nice, it's fun, but you're not going to do anything. So being able to not run away from that stuff, and you'll trigger each other, and you'll. Yeah, it's hard to. I mean, it's his, I'm repeating his language, but it's much easier. It comes from him. But he's set up his. The other thing that you may find useful with talking to him is he's set up his entire flat as an independent media publishing studio.
Oh, nice.
So he's painted his walls green. Nice. He's even thinking of painting the floor green. He's got webcams. He's got a media studio. He's got like webcams, podcast equipment. Just he's really spent a lot of money and time working out how to create this independent studio. And he like if he was in that studio and I'm on the streets and I've got a microphone, I can interview people and he can stream it in through his. And he set up on a radio station and put a Wi-Fi on the mosque opposite the street, and then channeled music through the cafes during an event. So I think even that, if you could do that in Vancouver, anywhere. Because I think you're a Pied Piper kind of guy, as is he. It's that kind of energy that can, hey, let's do this and bring people in here and record a conversation, and then that dialogue can then be put into a dialogue that's happening in Africa with kids, or etc.
Oh, sounds great. So
you don't use Telegram, do you, or do you?
No, I haven't been. I was on the device that I use. The update thing is in some cycle I don't seem to be able to break.
Right.
So no.
And what's your go on? Mm-hmm.
No. What do you need?
I was going. What's the best email then?
Elijah.
He's not on Facebook.
ElijahIgnatieff@gmail.com.
Let me just do that now.
ELIJAH.
Yep, I got it.
Okay.
And then David. Intro. So I'll just do that now. Hi, David. And Elijah. Elijah in Vancouver. Excellent place for a space hub.
Space hub. That's what he called it.
Well, like he's got this whole model of the space network, as he calls it, is the simple protocol for action, cooperation, exchange. So you have a space where people can gather, like you had in Vancouver. You've got pods around it where people can sleep, and this is like it can be anything. He's got this thing about, he knows in his own community there's like single mothers who've got a spare room, or if they want to go to Belarus for a month with their child, then someone can come from Belarus and stay in her flat, and you can create these exchanges, and as long as the rent's paid is a little bit more, you can get funding for that, basically.
Okay.
Especially if you're doing residency exchange, and if you had people coming from Vancouver to, I don't know, anywhere. Maybe easier in Canada or North America, but it's these exchanges and he's really good at how to create value and the business plan that leads to a self-sustaining network. That's the whole thing. If it's not sustainable, forget it. So how do we create these things? And for him, the visual novel is this new kind of media which is engaging and is interactive and allows things to grow and add in the blockchain and the other elements of economy and the digital currency that allows us to start building very different forms of engagement. So let me just finish that email. Chat between you, I believe. Okay, done, sent.
Awesome, thank you. That sounds, I like it. So tell me more about Brussels and it's a job position? Or you're creating a job?
Yeah. So basically, this Uni One, it wasn't Moses that created that name, but it came up 10 years ago. And I've known him 2 years. Just over 2 years. And we get on, and I actually introduced him to Chris, my ex-mentor, who died, and they did a bit of work together. So my role is there aren't many people that are able to commit full time to this. So I'm now able to do that. I've got a bit of money, I'm able to do that. We want to build a plan to get investment. And the internal language I'm using for it is it's like an awareness gym. So you've got a gym where you do your physical workout. This is like a space where you do a mental, emotional, spiritual workout. And the idea is that we have it in a circle with a process. And Moshe just wants to be able to have a circle down the block. So anywhere in the world, you can go and take part in a circle, morning, lunch, evening. Alcoholics Anonymous, Addictions Anonymous, they all do that kind of thing, those kind of processes. But for this, you don't have to be an addict to turn up. You can just be anybody. You don't have to go to a mosque or a synagogue or a church or a community center. Just turn up, and then you're hosted by people who are trained as easers. I call them easers, just to be able to become really easy in yourself and with others, overcome anxiety, and that you stop becoming reactive. I mean, that for Moshe, that's because he's a former rabbi, he's developed highly in that, is that no matter what comes at him, he just sits and smiles and goes, okay, I hear that. I can see you're angry, or I can see you're, thank you for sharing that. And then it's just releasing all of that energy through these circles. So we're really just finding the language to describe that, to make it a product that can then be, or a service that can be then invested and sold. So my job always to help build that, and then he wants me to help set up cities throughout Europe. And Moshe is very well connected to high net worth individuals and people of influence. So yeah, that's there's I can create my own job. I can call myself whatever I want. Yeah.
That sounds right up your alley. Like it's that's exciting. Congratulations.
Yeah, it's me again having to find a way to support somebody else's languaging and vision, just like with Chris, but finding a way that, do I believe in this guy? Do I believe in his capacities? Do I believe in myself to be able to? And as David challenged me, are you just going to clean the shoes of rich people? Is that your job? You just like wipe the shoes of posh people, or are you actually going to go in and piss them all off and tell them, no, that's not going to work. This is going to work, and be willing to have them eject you from the hotel because you're firmly convinced that this will work, that won't. So I've got 2 days to decide whether I will play that hand or not.
Hmm.
Yeah. I mean, he's. David's a radical. He's an anarchist. He grew up with those circles. He's worked with some very senior people globally, and he's just saying the rich aren't going to change fucking anything, as are the UN aren't either. But we can get their money if there's enough of them, because he's met enough of them to. He put it as posh people, and then he put an arrow, and then he put earth people. So there's people who want to do things for the earth and create and do all these things, but there's always the scammers and the crooks, and we've got to build a system between these two, with people in between that can say, right, they're scammers, they're crooks, they're okay, give them the money, and they need help. Like, I remember you doing work with groups in Africa, and it's like they need help with the governance, the thinking, the structures, all of that. They need that help, and then we have to be trusted by the money to say, right, you help them do that, and then we can see it happening. Yeah, but there's a lot of crooks and scammers, so yeah, there's that piece as well. And I really enjoyed that's a lot of editing work that you did with Yogi and
So
how long did that take? How long did that take you? I didn't watch all of it, but I was enjoying the whole. I was like, God, how'd you do that? You must have cut that and edited it. That takes time. He's done that. He's got Yogi. That's a lot of work.
that was about 20 to 30 hours. It was the first time that I just sat there and because I upgraded my computer with the memory and stuff. So before I couldn't do it. So now I could. And that was the max. Like, there's something that keeps freezing the computer at too much stuff. I can't figure it out, but I mean, it gave me confidence to think that it's a nice way of doing something, of having like a dialogue, and then afterwards you go find the material to support it,
Well, I would send him that. I'll just send you the email and just send him that. Here's something I did earlier, and yeah, his thing is that we've got to get rooms with put in the conspiracy theorists, with the fascists, with the communists, with the hippies, with everybody. Just go on, tell us what you think. Okay, thanks for that. Okay, I can understand that, and we have to do stuff together. She's got this thing around sheepdogs and hunting dogs. There's a lot of sheepdogs trying to herd the sheep together, get everyone nice and harmony, and everyone's going to be like this, and everyone's going to be in a pen, and we're all going to be nice. The hunting dog goes, I want that, and they just go at it. Then there's always there's so many bubbles where people are in this, bless them all, the waking dream synergy. It's like a lot of bubbles, and they're not interacting with people who are not like them. And so always bubbles start to form, and that's not going to go anywhere. And then you've got those who are just observing the flying high above, observing how it all connects. Okay, but they're just flying around. So how do we burst the bubbles, get everyone down into the same space, and say, right, let's grapple, let's work on this, let's do whatever needs to be done to say, right, work it through. Yeah, he's got much more eloquent language around that, and he's better explaining it, and it's been his life, and he regrets that he hasn't written a book like 20 years ago when being going around the world talking about it. But it seems to be that you write a book and then you create a platform for yourself and off you go.
Yeah, that's definitely a missing piece of my repertoire. I mean, that,
Well, I guess is you thought, but you've got such a broad range, haven't you? That it's like, how do you? I'm going to write a book about that, or I'm going to focus on this.
well, I mean, for me, I have to write the manual, so I have a focus point in terms of, the card set needs a manual, and that's it. Like I could write 10,000 books, but right now I need to write a manual.
But I think when you talk to David, plugging those things into it. So if it's like, here's a guide to forming a team to take action, and then there's this podcast, there's like, this one chapter is about all the blocks, and then you can click on it and go to your maps, and here's a diagram, and here's some visuals, and here's a video of people actually doing something, and then here's now, right, click that button, and you can. And he's saying you don't need fancy tools to do this. You could just really create it quite simply with even Keynote or a PowerPoint, and keep it simple with the basics. And then from there, start to just develop it and crowdsource it and get a community of people contributing and interacting with it. Of course, the key is how do you get them in, engage them. But he's got lots of ideas about that as well, especially if you can turn it into a project that can get money and be funded.
Right. Well, I mean, it sounds like anything who's got a life work. It sounds like, there's always going to be the things you missed, and what someone else is coming in with an angle that you didn't have at all. And when you put the two together, it's like strong. So it sounds like between these three things and other things, I was just watching a communication video by this woman on cues. Everything was about communication cues. And it felt like this complete missing element of me going, okay, I know a lot about communication, but I don't think I'm a good communicator. And I mean, she's explaining, all the, like, I don't give a fuck about cues. All these things you're supposed to be doing to have people like you or whatever. I'm more sitting there like this with my fingers up all the time because I'm pissed about society. So I just think that you seem to be a nexus point to bring these pieces together, that we all have to work together to basically create this larger network of communication, for in many ways.
I think if you, because you and he are similar vintage, you've gone through probably similar things. He's I think there's also how, what I like about him is that if he's going to work with a male in a group, the male is going to be 30% more, usually 30% more competent than women that are around. Or he'd much rather work with someone who's got that kind of skill, but it's really difficult, doesn't know very much there, or someone who works in a shop who's really passionate. It's not about the usual stuff. It's about the willingness to work together. We just, sadly we couldn't do it. I just think it was too intense too soon. So we're just slowing down. This thing has come up with Uni One. I'm going to go for that, and he's really challenged me to say, just what do you believe in? Just sit. I've got a meeting on Monday in London with Moshe and this guy to talk about this. We'll see.
Well, I look forward to talking to him, and it's great to see you. And keep me posted.
I'll do that. Yeah, I'm not doing much on Facebook. I don't feel like being on it. It just feels like this is draining me a bit. So I'm focusing on that, but happy to send messages on Messenger from time to time. And if anything, like here's something to look at or whatever, then to plug into, then I'll do that.
Okay. Well, we'll talk soon.
Have a great
to see you.
Yes, have a great Earth Day.
All right. Much love, brother.
All right. Much love. Ciao.